Welcome to the Port to Port podcast with Ronan.
Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new season of the Port to Port podcast. On this week's episode, I'm joined by John O'Brien. He's an English teacher. He's traveling all around. He's got an online presence on Instagram, YouTube. So we're going to talk about all the places that he's been to, all about what his job is based about, all that kind of stuff. So thanks for coming on the show, John. Welcome to the Port to Port podcast.
Cheers, a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I suppose we should mention that we go back about 30 years.
About 30 odd years.
Yeah, I'm not just a randomer that he's plucked from the internet.
Yeah, so me and Johnny both kind of grew up together, so obviously we have a good past. We've known each other since we were kids.
And all the skeletons in our closets. But we'll keep them in the closet today and just focus on travel.
Yeah, no, that's great. So what this episode is going to be about is I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to ask you questions. You can ask me questions just about getting each other's kind of perspective on travel in general. Mm-hmm. So I suppose, what kind of traveler would you be kind of yourself?
Well, I kind of avoid any groups, solo travel, if you will, or with my partner.
Okay.
And over the years, it's always been kind of like, not backpacking really, but something in between, kind of like, staying in hotels and package holidays and backpacking. So I think as well, it's a sign of growing old. There's only so much backpacking I feel I can do as I grow older. So I kind of like try to strike a balance between, not spending a fortune while on holiday, but at the same time not slumming it in hostels with,
like we did in Paris.
Like we did in Paris, with Brendan Cronin.
That was a hell of a time.
Exactly, in bed every night at 9 p.m. So we just get that in there in case Brendan's listening in the future. But yeah, so I'd say like I kind of try to combine a bit of everything, but usually I travel because I'm able to work online and from anywhere. It's just a matter of like, the biggest inconvenience for me is time zone difference, depending on where my students are. But basically, I kind of I travel for periods of time, so a couple of months at a time if I do, and it allows me then to kind of like settle in a place for a bit of time, or and kind of seek out those good deals and budgets, and not be confined to like 1 week where you have to kind of like book into a hotel or whatever. So it's a little bit easier because I have that flexibility of working.
Yeah,
online.
I suppose the fact that you're able to work online, it does make things a lot easier. Yeah. Whereas for the likes of myself, I've only got 4 weeks of the year where I'm able to travel, and you have to kind of find the cheaper times. The best kind of places, especially for cruising as well, because there's obviously peak times and off-peak times as well.
Exactly, yeah. So to be honest, it's something that I'm grateful for, being able to travel and work at the same time, because I've worked jobs before where you're kind of tied to 4 weeks, and at least in your case, as far as I know, you can take them at any time of the year. But I have a lot of students, and like they're only allocated like a fortnight in August and maybe a fortnight in June, and it's obviously you pay through the nose then. So actually, my cousin is thinking of going to Morocco, and she wrote to me yesterday asking me for tips. Now, I've never been to Morocco. I know you've been to Morocco, but she was like, the trouble is with work, we can only get time off in summer, and it's like, you're going to pay through the nose if you're traveling. So I think one of the things that I look for is try to go at those off-peak times of the year, and I
think especially for Morocco, I think if you went and it was just you stayed in a riad, I think you're fine. I think no matter what time of the year, you probably pay a bit more. But like even when we went in November, it was still 30 degrees. It was still busy. It was we still didn't pay that much money for a riad because it's a local. But if you want to stay in a really posh hotel, then obviously that's when it's changing.
Yeah, I think in general, but I mean, off-peak or whatever is hard to find these days, isn't it? Because
it's
everyone's traveling all the time. That's kind of how I approach it.
What would you say your favorite travel experience has been so far?
Oh my God. So the thing is that I wouldn't say I'm like a very, very, very well seasoned traveler, but since COVID and since working online, I've traveled quite a bit. But I've done like 3 months here, 3 months there, and honestly, it's hard to choose between Japan.
Yeah.
I would say I don't know. Every experience is different. You learn something about the place, about yourself. Like Japan was the most kind of like fun, and Japan is everything you expect it to be and more.
Okay, yeah.
But the biggest culture shock was probably India, India or Sri Lanka. And even though it was I wouldn't say it was my favorite, but it was the one that I learned most kind of, about the kind of the hard part of traveling,
Okay.
But favorite, I would say Japan or maybe Iceland. Now,
Iceland is stunning.
Yeah,
it's absolutely beautiful.
I traveled to Iceland in 2017, and basically, it blew my mind. So very different to Japan, of course, because Japan is like modern cities and with that combination of history and culture.
Yeah.
But Iceland is just so I couldn't say
There's a couple of places.
Yeah. I would say probably Japan in recent memory, because I think it's everyone's bucket list destination, isn't it?
Japan.
Like
this year now, we're definitely going to Japan. We've 3 weeks. We're doing the cruise. We're going to South Korea. We're going to Tokyo for nearly a week. Yeah. So we know that we've got. So it's our last year we did 5 holidays. Mm-hmm. We did 2 cruises. We did a couple of small little trips. But this year, it's the only holiday we're doing because we want to be able to go and we want to experience as much of it and have spent.
It is a not a once in a lifetime, hopefully, but it is kind of like. It's so far away and it costs a lot to get there. But the funny thing about Japan, and I guess we can go into detail on that a bit later, but is that it costs a lot to get there. But I was surprised by how cheap it is. Now I know the yen, the currency is weak, but even so, it feels like you're not getting ripped off, and that's another reason why I love the experience so much, because you go to some places and there's tourist traps and you feel like, okay, I enjoyed it, but I felt like I was getting ripped off. But in Japan, it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like, wow, I mean, I should be paying more for it.
Yeah, I've read about even Disney Japan, and even in the price comparison to Disney Japan versus Disney Paris and the ones in America, it's way cheaper. Compared, considering it's a brand, it's way cheaper there, and they've kind of kept the prices of everything down.
I think Japan in general, I don't know, is it the structure of their economy or whatever, but it's good value for money. That's the thing. Even food. I mean, food is obviously one of the main reasons people go to Japan. So, favorite travel experience in terms of food, without a doubt, Japan. Oh my God! I mean, actually, I don't want to reminisce too much because I'm gonna miss not being there this year. But the
7-Elevens are supposed to be phenomenal.
And
it's like Family Mart or something, isn't it?
Yeah. So everything just tastes amazing.
Okay.
There wasn't a single. I went to Japan with my nephew actually. It's kind of like a bonding kind of trip, and both of us realized that with every eating experience we had, it felt like it tasted nicer than the previous. So there was nothing that we had, whether it was in a supermarket or in a restaurant or street food, that wasn't the nicest thing we had ever eaten up until that point.
Okay.
It reminded me of The Simpsons when Bart says, "This is the worst day of my life," and Homer says, "The worst day of your life so far." It was this is the best meal of my life, and I said to my nephew was like, "No, it's the best meal of your life so far." I was like, "Wait until tomorrow."
I suppose, what's been your most spontaneous, or have you ever booked a very last minute trip somewhere?
Actually, I did. I booked a trip to Spain years ago to see an old friend of ours, and I booked it kind of off the cuff, and I went to Sevilla. I had only been to Spain like we would have been in Majorca or in the Canaries.
The usual places.
Classic kind of tourist holiday. But I booked a trip to Spain for I think it was 4 days to go to a football match and spend a bit of time with a friend. And to be honest, Seville, I hadn't heard much about Seville, but when I got there, it opened my eyes to a place that isn't very touristic, and that was back in 2011, I think. And the year after we went to Paris, I think, for 2012. And basically, that kind of gave me a taste of city breaks, and I think obviously city breaks are ideal for spontaneous or last minute trips, and sometimes even if I don't go somewhere, I just have a look on Skyscanner or whatever it is, and I just check out. Yesterday, I was checking out prices of flights to Rome, And I was like, and it's amazing what bargains are out there, because you assume that you're going to spend a fortune, but like, especially at this time of the year, like spring.
Yeah, like early spring, kind of this time of the year.
Yeah.
Like I've cruised more than any other time of the year than in January and February. Like this time last year, I was just after arriving in Brazil, and like I think that's what like. If you shop around and you pick the right times and you're able to go, then you're definitely going to get a deal.
Yeah. So, and the nice thing about traveling to places like the south of Spain is that the weather is good all year round. So yeah, my favorite or most spontaneous trip was definitely Seville. I think I had booked it one day to the next, and I said, okay, feck it, because you know, like when you're pricing trips nowadays, you know, you have to really like plan in advance and work out how much you're going to spend, but now and then you can do things on a kind of a budget, and even if it's 2 or 3 days somewhere, like you were in the Netherlands there recently, and those kind of trips are great because you just need, at least then you're not kind of like building up months of anticipation and having kind of
it is cool. And the fact that like, especially when you're living in Europe, you can go somewhere within an hour or two of a flight. It's so quick to get somewhere.
Even the UK, even places like the UK, because
you're in London within an hour, you're in Manchester within like an hour. It's very quick to get over there now.
Exactly.
I suppose, what's a place that you went to that didn't live up to your expectations?
Oh, I have to be careful here because I don't want to offend people. Didn't live up to my expectations. To be honest with you, like this is going back a little bit, but I did an interrailing trip when I was 20, and Croatia, maybe it's changed now. I know I think you've been to Croatia, to Dubrovnik and places, but so me and my partner at the time, we did an interrailing trip from Paris to like across Europe, down finishing in Croatia. And like the thing about Croatia, I think it's good if you fly directly to a destination and stay around, but we were like traveling through Croatia and there's no trains and like the infrastructure is really poor, and I was kind of disappointed with the beaches. Like
they were stony.
They're stony, and I know now I sound like I'm being fussy, but I don't know. I just had a different impression. So I think had I gone to Croatia with like the idea of, okay, you know, Dubrovnik, Split, you know, the cities, the architecture, the culture, the food, and just like enjoying it. But I didn't really think that that's what Croatia was about, and as a result, I was a little bit disappointed. I'm curious to go back though, because you know that was nearly 20 years ago, and
so that was kind of prior to Game of Thrones being filmed.
Yeah, so exactly. I definitely want to go back there. But I'd say there, and another place that I felt was a bit of a letdown, Florence. So I went to Florence in that trip, actually, in the interrailing trip.
Okay, yeah.
And then 14 months ago, like December 2023, I went back, or 15 months ago or so, and I went back for a day trip, and I just couldn't believe how much it had changed in like 18 years. It was like packed with tourists. So like it just, I know most cities in Italy are packed with tourists, but this was end of November, start of December, and I just felt like, I don't know, it had become a little bit kind of commercialized, and I actually saw a poster in a window written in Italian by a local kind of artisan bakery or something like that, and they were complaining about the, you know, over tourism. And so Florence, beautiful city, stunning architecture, but I just felt it like, oh my God, this place is, you couldn't even...
It's just too busy,
Too busy. And the problem with these beautiful cities in Europe is that they have these narrow streets and like...
Yeah, like have you been to Venice?
Yeah, I know.
Like Venice is amazing, but when it's like, we were there on the cruise that time, and it was like October.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like the squares were mental, all the little alleyways, all the bridges. It's crazy.
I know, and it spoiled, like it takes away from your experience a little bit, because the point is that like when you go to a place, you want to kind of, I don't know, you want to feel like, okay, you know you're a tourist, but at the same time you want to see what people are doing, the locals and all that.
Yeah.
And I felt it in Florence, and that's the trouble with Italy. They're a victim of their own kind of success. Like in these cities in Italy, in France, in other places, Amsterdam, a little bit the same.
See, I think a lot of it as well is to do with the fact that like in Europe, there's a lot more culture here than there is. Like I've gone to the Caribbean on cruises. It's the same thing every day. You get off the ship, you go to a beach. Whereas in Europe, there's so much more culture. There's so much more to see.
And you get like in a way, you get people from like the West and the East all gathering in one spot.
100%. Yeah, like there's a bit always, no matter where you go, you're going to get loads of Americans. You're going to get loads of people from Asia because they want to come and they want to experience all that culture that they've heard about. And
exactly.
The same way I've gone to America loads of times, and I love going over there. But I know they all love coming over to Ireland and especially Europe as well.
Actually, you know, now that I think of it, a place that didn't live up to my expectations, I've got one that stands out a mile. The Taj Mahal in India. So it's located in a city called Agra.
Okay.
And like, so I spent a couple of months traveling in India, and actually one of the months with a cast on my leg and a broken leg.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But Agra is a city, like, I think it's the 5th most polluted city on earth, and the Taj Mahal, like, apart from the over-tourism, the city is so dirty, and then you have this wealthy like palace that's kind of like I don't know, it just feels totally out of place there.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't even like even the pictures you see, like, you know, like any picture you see now from like blogs or Instagram, it doesn't really do justice, or maybe it kind of like it misrepresents the fact, but like, you could barely see, like, there was so much smog. And I know that this is an issue in places like India and stuff, and I know it's challenging for them, but I just felt like in a city so poor and so polluted, then you had this kind of this monument to the riches of old kind of like aristocracy or whatever, and it was impressive, but I was expecting wow, and I got like, yeah, it's impressive, but Jesus, it's surrounded by like
the shit everywhere, and there's smell. I think my parents had the similar thing. Like, they got to go to Egypt on a cruise 20 years ago, and they went to see the pyramids, they went to see the Sphinx, they saw all that. But like, my dad, when I was talking to him afterwards, he was just telling me like the bus was going down the road to go to the pyramids. There was shit everywhere it, just like people begging, and then you're going to this place. But even remember in India Abroad when Carl Pilkington went there, and it was just like, it's great to see it, but then you turn around and there's like nappies flying around because there's shit all over the ground, and it's just crazy. So,
I know, and to be honest with you, like my experience in India was like almost like a local experience, and I interacted a lot with the locals, but and I understand that, okay, it's a poor country or a developing country, and like, and it's, I'm not saying that I want to go to a place and it has to be perfect. But I felt like, I don't know, you know, these images of these wonders of the world you have, and then when you get there, it's like, I mean, in a way, it was an interesting experience because you see the contrast, but I just felt like I wouldn't be in a rush to go back there, or I don't know. There's like a lot of these kind of iconic places. Like once you get there, you feel a little bit underwhelmed. Like I didn't feel like that with the Eiffel Tower, but with the Taj Mahal, I thought all these people living in poverty, and then this palace in the middle. Is like,
because they're obviously pumping millions into keeping this thing looking so well all the time, and they're getting all the people who are coming in, but then they've all these poor people outside that they're not doing anything to help that side of it.
So that was kind of that was difficult to swallow.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. What would be a place that surprised you in a good way?
Maybe Nepal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, maybe Nepal, because I had an idea of what to expect there, but the people were so nice. Like India, so Nepal was after India in the same trip, but in India, you know, it's a very kind of like, it's a stressful place because everyone is trying to kind of like make ends meet, and people are stressed, and there's traffic and all that. And then going to Nepal, it's a little bit of that in Kathmandu, but the people are just so easygoing, and I think it's I don't know, like they told us it's because they're mountain people and like they've had to live a hard life. But honestly, I felt like the people in Nepal, and I would say the same about Vietnam. Like I hadn't expected to basically almost fall in love with the character. The people are just so nice, so friendly and smiley, and in southern India as well, in Kerala. Like I think that, you know, when you travel and you meet locals and all that, it's an amazing kind of thing to see how friendly and welcoming people can be, you know, and in those places, people, their hospitality was amazing, and that I felt kind of like, I don't know, you know, sometimes when you travel back home and stuff, everyone is, people are doing their own things, and they'll help you if you ask them, but they don't really smile as much in Europe or in the States. Yeah, they smile, but not the same. But over there, they're smiling all the time, and they look so happy all the time, even though they don't have a lot to live on or to live with, but they don't need it because they're just, So I would say Nepal and Asia in general, the people, like, I was constantly surprised and impressed by just how smiley and friendly people were. It's amazing. Like I almost felt kind of embarrassed to be complaining about stuff, you know, that we complain
especially
about.
what would happen with their history and
I know, like Vietnam, and especially like in Vietnam, for example, they were like at war with each other 40, 50 years ago, and now they all can help each other, and it's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah,
Asia is great for that. You'll see that now in Japan, like the Japanese are so nice as well. I mean, I think we know that about their manners, but you know, I haven't been to South America. I know you have. I'm probably going to go to South America next year, but I'm really impressed by the people in Asia, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to getting to see Japan. Like that'll be the furthest
Korea
that side.
well,
It's like even like it'll only be a day trip in Busan in South Korea, but even still, just to go there,
get a feel for it,
just to get a feel of it would be cool.
All right, so I guess it's my turn to interview you a little bit, or ask you a few questions,
Right, okay.
and I've never been on a cruise myself, you know. I mean, I'm curious more than anything, and obviously I've been following your kind of travels and adventures and all that, and the first thing that comes to mind is like you get to see a lot in a short trip, and without kind of like the stress of like hopping on buses from, like I remember in Croatia, for example, we took a 14-hour bus trip. I thought I was going to die, and so like logistically it looks like very convenient, but I'm just curious to know, how did you first get into cruising? Like I mean, did you just decide? I think your parents, like my parents, have been on quite a few cruises.
Yeah,
over
like
the years.
I think the fact that we live in Cove and the fact that
That's true.
we literally see all these cruise ships coming in for like 8 months of the year, and I suppose it was a place. It was something that we wanted to kind of, myself and my wife decided, okay, let's give it a try. Obviously, my parents had done it once. Other people in my family had tried it, and I thought, okay, let's give it a go. And our first cruise ever we got it so cheap. It was like January.
Was it your honeymoon?
No, it was even prior to our honeymoon. Our honeymoon cruise, we actually went on honeymoon in Dubai a couple of months after our wedding, and that was in a Dubai cruise. Okay. But our very first cruise, we actually got it for 400, 500 euros each for a week in the Mediterranean out of Barcelona on New Year's Day. So we flew into Barcelona. The only annoying thing is the fact that with Cork, in the winter, you can't really fly that many places. So we had to go up to Dublin. We had to fly from Dublin to Barcelona.
That's the thing about living on an island.
Yeah.
I mean, at least if you lived in Barcelona or where are the other, Amsterdam.
Yeah.
These are big port cities, right?
Yeah, like even in London, if you're living in London, obviously you only need to get a train to Southampton or Portsmouth, and you're able to just leave from there.
Because Cove is like a stop-off point.
Yeah, Cove only
never a starting point.
Yeah, no, Cove only takes people in and lets them get off and just lets them explore for the day, but you can't actually get on in Cove.
Yeah.
But like when it was funny because 2 years ago we went to Iceland, and what we actually had to do was we got the train up to Dublin, but we were going to see Ricky Gervais, which was fine because we knew we were going to Dublin for that. But then we flew with Aer Lingus to Southampton.
Okay. Yeah.
Got on the ship, and the following day we cruised back into Cove. So like it was the most
I remember
bizarre
that. Yeah.
thing ever, because we were telling people on the ship, oh, this is our hometown. And I literally got off the
But
boat.
you went on to another destination.
Oh yeah, we carried on to Iceland, but like we didn't do an excursion.
You should have pretended to be a foreigner.
Yeah, we didn't. We got off the boat. My car was still parked down at the station where I'd left it 2 days previous. I got in, drove up home. We dropped off some washing for like the previous 2 days.
Yeah.
My wife went and got her hair done, and then we went back on the ship for the rest of the day. And like my mother and my aunt came and my
they
wife
waved you off, did they?
Yeah, they all waved us off. It was just the weirdest, but it was so cool. Even just sailing into Cove was phenomenal.
Yeah. So I guess, like obviously you did your first one, and then you realized how much fun it was. So like that's why I'm curious to I'm not sure when I will try it, or probably if I were to try one, for example, to start, probably the Med. Even though I've been to a lot of places around the Med, like I think the Med is the entry point for a lot of people.
I think it would be, especially if you're living in Europe. Obviously, if you're living in America, the Caribbean is going to be the stop because it's so cheap to do a Caribbean cruise if you're in America. Okay. It's just the cost of the flights to get over there. But if you're living in Europe, it's going to be a lot cheaper to do a cruise in the Med or out of Barcelona or Athens. Like we did, like some of the best cruises that I've done have gone down to Santorini. I've left out of Venice. I've left out of Athens. And there's just so much cultures to see, and you're only getting a 2 or 3 hour flight, and it's definitely somewhere where I would get people to start first, rather than going, oh, I'm going to fly 9 hours to Miami and get on do a Caribbean cruise.
Yeah. So, what is the biggest misconception about cruises? I guess
I think first off, people think it's expensive. But that would be a big misconception. Like the amount of people that I've spoken to that think cruising costs thousands.
I assume it's like 3,000 or 4,000.
Yeah, no, like the cruise that I've gone on a cruise, as I said, the very first cruise was €500 each. That's that's for a week's cruise with all your food included.
Really?
And obviously
cheaper than a hotel.
Exactly. Yeah. If you were to do a couple of nights stay in Ireland, in Killarney.
Listen, it's unreal. I was looking at Rome, and it's €200 a night. Yeah, so like you're talking even for 5 nights, and you can stop off. Yeah, obviously you have to
there's extras.
The flights, but
like you have to pay for your flights if you're a drinker and you want a drinks package. But like your food is all included. You get water included.
So it's not half board, full board.
Yeah, like you're getting all your food, your breakfast, dinner, tea, everything is included. The only extras would be if you want alcohol, you buy your alcohol package, or like if you're like me, I don't drink that much, so I'll buy as I want it.
Okay, I see.
And then obviously you can do an excursion. That's going to cost as well.
Yeah.
So it's
but as a base pack, I didn't realize. I assumed that a week's cruise in the Med would be like €2,000.
No,
I thought it would be more expensive than accommodation.
It all depends on who you go with.
Yeah,
like
of course.
MSC would be like they're a decent cruise company.
Yeah. One of the more popular ones.
But they're popular. They have a lot of ships, and they're cheaper to start with. I would definitely tell people to start with MSC. The food isn't as good.
Not starting with Cunard or
like you see, if you're starting with the
I saw an ad for Cunard recently. Did you see that on TV?
No, I've seen a lot of MSC ads recently. Actually,
I saw it. I thought Cunard had closed down 100 years ago. I know MSC are like the name is so familiar, and I've seen loads of ads and stuff in magazines and all that, and I know my parents went on a few of their cruises, but then out of the blue I saw this Cunard and I was like,
like they've got the Queen Mary and they've got all these
more
other
the classic ones,
it's a classic cruise company.
Exactly, different kind of experience.
Oh, totally,
and what do you love most about cruise? Like, if you had to pick, let's say, your 3 favorite things about apart from like the fact that you get to see so many places, and at the same time the convenience of it. Is there anything that people wouldn't think of initially that you think, I love just being able to blah blah blah?
I suppose it's just the fact that you've got the freedom to just relax. You can do whatever you want. Like it's totally.
It's like being at the beach and moving from city to city at the same time.
Exactly, because like if you think about it, you get up in the morning, especially if it's a sea day. You get up in the morning. There's entertainment on from like 9 a.m. all the way through till 10 o'clock at night. There's always something to do. If you just want to go sunbathing, if you just want to go swimming, there's a couple of pools. There's like if you've got kids, there's a load of kids places that you can bring the kids, or the kids can just go themselves. Like there's obviously you've got the theater by night, and there's always like Broadway style shows, or you've got like they might get a comedian. Like I've been on cruises where they get like special guests. They've got comedians, or you get magicians.
And the Wi-Fi is always good, right?
Well, it depends on
because that's one thing
you can't buy. Like I've got the Wi-Fi on board and. Usually it's fairly okay because like they've
because
obviously
you could
technology.
Be in the middle of the
like you're in the middle of nowhere, but you can see the thing that they have on the ship where
satellite
they get all their satellite feed to get the Wi-Fi.
Maybe Starlink will make it easier.
Yeah, I know. There's already people that I know that are using Starlink on the ship.
It's mad, isn't it?
It's just easier for them and cheaper for them to use Starlink. So like it is, but sometimes if you don't want to like. It is one way to just be like, I want to go off the grid. I don't want to have any communication. I just want to enjoy myself.
Yeah, when you think about it, actually, you get... So basically, I guess you don't... Like, it must be very relaxing. Because also the pace... Like, when you're traveling, and when I was traveling, some days you just think, oh, today I want to do nothing. But at least on a cruise ship, there's a steady pace all the time. So
like especially sea days.
Your pace is controlled.
Like sea day, you can be like, oh, I'm going to go back to my cabin for a while. I'm just going to chill out in the balcony or whatever. And then you know that the following day you're like, okay, I have to get up early because...
Jump overboard for a dip in the sea.
You've got like, oh, I've got an excursion tomorrow and I know I'm going to be on the go for like we when we went to Russia a few years ago, we had like a 12 or a 13 hour excursion and like that was a long day of like, and you're seeing so much stuff. But it's nice to get back on the ship and just unwind and relax and again on a sea day. Sea days, I think...
Where were you? In St. Petersburg?
Yeah, in St. Petersburg,
That must
amazing. It's so cool. Just to be in Russia was phenomenal.
Okay, your favorite destination so far? I know you've been to dozens of places, but...
I think...
So not so much the cruise... Well, firstly, your favorite cruise destination, like, and also the favorite place exactly that you... stopped off on a cruise.
I think by far the number one place I've been to is Alaska.
Wow.
Phenomenal.
It's not the first place that would come to mind. Like normally people would think Santorini or
like I've been to Santorini twice. I've been to Mykonos. I've been to a load of the Greek islands and all the rest
Iceland,
of it. I've been to Iceland. Iceland would definitely be in my top 5 of places that we've cruised to.
But
Alaska, I've never seen the scenery and landscape anywhere else. And again, like you were saying, in Vietnam, and the people are so nice. Now, the only thing is with Alaska is there's a lot of ships coming into the ports that are so small busy, and it's so busy, but it's just amazing.
It's all nature.
If you want to go and you want to see nature, like we were just going along on the cruise and there's orcas alongside the ship. I've never seen orcas in my life, and just to see them just coming along the side of the ship, it's amazing. I saw bald eagles in Ketchikan, and like you've been going up and doing like the Skagway Railway.
Bald eagles was the cruise ship entertainment.
You could just look everywhere and there's bald eagles. But like the Skagway Railway is one of I think it's been voted one of the most scenic railway tours in the world.
I remember.
And just getting to see that, it's stunning. Like it's probably
Alaska
a place.
is not a. Like it is off the beaten path in a way.
100%. I've never
heard of anyone else who's been.
Yeah, like it's a wilderness. It's like we flew into Seattle. We had a few days in Seattle. Seattle, by the way, is one of my favorite cities in America.
My father has two second cousins there.
Okay, yeah.
And like they said that all that area, like. It's Washington State.
Yeah, Washington State, yeah.
And even down a bit further, Oregon is supposed to be unreal. Like people are really chill and easygoing. And there's
it's
coffee
like
shops.
I've been to San Francisco, I've been to LA, I've been to Vegas, I've been to all the other sides. I've been to New York, I've been to Philadelphia, Boston, I've been to North Carolina, but there was just something unbelievable about
Seattle. I've heard good stuff about it. What is the worst part or your least favorite part of cruising? So there must be something that you think.
I suppose there is potential if you're on a cruise that obviously something could go wrong in relation to the weather. Yeah. And if you're very queasy,
seasickness.
For seasickness. So like I suppose I've never been seasick.
But on such a big ship, I can't imagine.
You see, it depends on how bad the weather is. Like, I've gone through massive storms and I've not been affected, and you're walking and you're literally sideways as the ship's rolling and stuff, but it didn't bother me.
It's a bit like turbulence, no?
Yeah, like it's just a bit like turbulence, but I've obviously heard other stories where people have gotten stuck in a hurricane, and that's a lot worse. Like
these are rare, folks, okay?
Yeah, but like I've done 10 cruises and I've never been seasick. I've been in bad storms.
Well, I guess you know, if you're the type of person who's prone to seasickness, you're not going to hop on a cruise.
No, probably not. No, but I suppose it's either seasickness or there's obviously the potential that you might get a bit of food poisoning as well, depending, because you just don't know what you might be eating mightn't agree with you, kind of thing.
What about cabin fever? Because I thought, like, I guess part of my anxiety about taking a ship is like the
being
idea
stuck
of being
inside and all the rest.
No, like the idea that. Like when I was in Sri Lanka, I was like, I'm on an island in the Indian Ocean. Like, Jesus, this is far from a lot of places that are home to me, you know?
Yeah.
But like when you're on a ship, is there any part of you that thinks, I'm on a ship in the middle of the ocean?
Nah, never comes it. Like when I'm on a ship, I'm immediately like, okay, this is home for the next whatever amount of time I'm there.
I guess because
it's like you're like
because the size of it. Yeah. You know? Because if it's a small boat, you would realize, like, okay.
If when you get off and you're at tender, then you know, okay, I'm at sea here because the tender is all over the place. But when you're on the ship, there's literally so much things to do. Your mind is preoccupied to think, oh God, what happens if this happens? So like that'll be.
And you've never seen any icebergs.
No, apart from the ones that we saw in Alaska,
yeah. All right. And people. Okay, what was the longest you've been on a ship itself? Like, because I imagine there's 7 days, 10 days, that kind of thing. No?
Yeah. So the longest one we've done would be 11 days, and that would have been the one that we went to Iceland on. So on that one, it was Southampton to Cove. Then we had a 2.5 day Atlantic sailing up to Iceland. Then we went all around Iceland, Reykjavik, Ísafjörður, and then we went up to the north. Then we crossed and we went into the Arctic Circle.
So do you feel like there's an ideal length of kind of time for it? I would imagine 7 to 10 days. No?
Yeah, I think when we started doing them, it was 7 days. It was always kind of the ones that you'd go with. But now that we've a little
bit more time.
Yeah, now that like you've done 7, we've kind of upped it. We've done 10, we've done 11, and the one in Japan is going to be 12. So the Japan cruise is going to be the biggest and longest one that we've done.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit like that. Just kind of like finding your feet.
Like that's it. I think after a week, you're just like, oh my God, it's gone too quick. Whereas if you've got those extra couple of days, you're just like, oh, thank God, I still have those. It's you when you get on a cruise, you just don't want to get off it. It's that kind of a feeling.
It's a bit like when you're going on holiday, and after 2 weeks, you kind of think, I wouldn't mind getting home now. So it's like any
you will eventually get to the point where you're like, I'm going home. It don't really bother. But like when you're only a week in, you're just like, if only I could stay another week.
Yeah. There's that rapid fire round of these are kind of interesting questions, aren't they? Like random questions about traveling.
So window or aisle seat for me. I hate flying, but I still prefer a window to be able to look out.
I guess window seat, and especially if it's a long flight. We're big guys over 6 foot, so like.
Can you sleep on a plane?
I drift off. I wouldn't say I sleep. I don't think I've ever slept for like a couple of hours. I always feel like I'm gonna miss the food. So like
I try no matter I have my food and then I'm gonna try and sleep. My brain doesn't shut off.
If I think that if you're 5'6", 1 meter, like 65 or whatever, easier. But like being over 6 foot is like. There's very few planes or journeys in which you can stretch out and like. Well,
I usually try to get the front of the I get the exit row where I can stretch my legs out, and it's a bit better. But I still find that because I'm a nervous flyer, my brain just doesn't want me to go to sleep.
You fly business class?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. I wish.
Yeah. Do you know when you're walking past business class and people are looking at you
and they're just like, keep walking.
Yeah. I feel like saying, I could have booked business class, but I decided against it. Dream destination you haven't been to yet. So bucket list. We could do like a top 3 because I think bucket lists are a great idea. So three places that you'd love to go to.
I don't know. I'd like to see Moscow. I think Moscow would be a cool place to see. I obviously
hard to reach it on a ship though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, no, not on a ship. But
until global warming, rising sea levels.
I suppose if we're, I was supposed to go to Singapore a couple of years ago, but COVID literally hit 2 weeks before the cruise.
Oh, jeez.
So I was
Did you get your money back?
Yeah, actually what happened was we got the money back for the flights, but we got vouchers for we got all our money back for a future cruise, so it wasn't too bad. But going to see like Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand,
so Southeast Asia,
Malaysia, all that kind of stuff. That would be a place I definitely want to see.
And once you go to Japan now, you get a taste for Asian kind of food.
Yeah, I want to go to China as well at some point. China.
All right, for me, dream destination. I think New Zealand because like that would be unreal for cruises as well.
Yeah.
Because I would say New Zealand. You've been to Argentina, so I think Argentina, New Zealand. Now that you mentioned Alaska, to be honest, and Santorini, I haven't been to Santorini, but
Santorini is stunning.
Yeah,
even though at the moment it's kind of
I see
what's going on over there.
The controversy. But I'd say New Zealand because it's so far that the chances of getting there are slim as it is. So and the whole Lord of the Rings thing, and
that would be one of the big reasons for the Lord of the Rings.
And Kiwis generally, New Zealanders are sound, and I'd like to visit Australia as well, of course, but I think there's something about New Zealand and Ireland and Iceland and Patagonia. They have this kind of otherworldly feel, don't they?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So, okay, next one there is a place you would never go back to.
I'd say I probably wouldn't go back to Marrakesh.
Yeah.
I think I spoke about it on the podcast previously. It was too dirty. Now obviously when you go to
chaotic, I imagine.
Yeah, there was you're walking down alleyways and there's guys on donkeys and there's guys on motorbikes and there's literally no such thing as personal space. They're going to drive past you whether or not they can fit or not. And you're just it's just
I know. Yeah, I'm not sure India would be your cup of tea, but I imagine with those kind of places I feel like it's very stressful when you're there and it's packed and it's, as you say, it's kind of dirty and polluted and crowded and everyone's on top of each other. But the only thing I find then, once you're in those places, and then when you leave or whatever, you kind of, I don't know, you're kind of glad. You're glad you experienced it.
Oh yeah, I'm still glad I experienced it.
Yeah.
And we got some really nice food.
There is a kind of a beauty to it.
Oh yeah, it was still a totally new culture, and it was still nice to experience their food and all that kind of stuff.
I imagine the people were nice.
Oh yeah, the people were really nice there. Yeah, but I suppose it's just that
the intensity. It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah, and
especially if you come from Ireland. I find that in Ireland we it's not a densely populated country, so we're used to peace and quiet.
Yeah, it's especially when you're in the main area, the Medina. It's so busy. Once you're outside the walls of the Medina, you can go and you're in a newer version of Marrakesh, and everything is a lot different. But the Medina is just, as you said earlier, there's a lot of smog and there's a bit of pollution and it's the same in other places, like in India as well. Yeah. And I suppose that part is something that I'm not used to. I suppose from other places that I've been to.
I mean, it's culture shock as well. And for me, a place I wouldn't go back to, Florida. I don't know. It's just that it's not that I have nothing against Florida. It's just that I don't know what I would go back to. It's like I've seen kind of a bit of everything there. I don't know. I would never rule out any place really, but I suppose. Yeah, Florida, because the States is big and there's so many cool places to discover that.
Yeah.
It's different in Europe, obviously, but in the States, I'd love to see, as you said, Seattle. I'd love to go to. I haven't been to any of the West Coast. I've been to the East Coast a few times, but I would say probably Florida because it's a beautiful place, whatever. But I'm not in a rush to go back there. What about the best travel hack you swear by?
I don't really I suppose one
pack
thing,
more than one pair of underwear.
You should try at least anyway. I think one of the good things that we bought recently and actually is handy is the packing cubes.
Oh yeah.
And it does kind of help just the suitcase organization that bit
that's
more.
true.
So it's definitely something that I think is worth it. And make sure as well, if you're going somewhere where you're not sure what their medicine is going to be like, make sure you bring your own medicine, especially if like you could get an upset stomach or anything like that. We always bring plenty of medicine on board just in case we need it on the ship, because you don't want to end up in the medical bay on board the ship if you can have the stuff with you. Because like I've ended up on my third or fourth cruise on MSC in the medical bay, hooked up to drips and all the rest of it because I was after getting food poisoned. And it's happened.
It wasn't because you had taken too much alcohol.
No. So like that would be. They would be two things I would say. Yeah.
I would say travel hack, especially if you're traveling for a period of time. I don't know about cruise ships, but one thing I've learned is like when you're packing, you should think, I can use a laundry service. So like, I realized that I went with a 10 kilo bag around India, Nepal and Vietnam, 12 kilos maybe. And okay, you get tired of wearing the same clothes after a while. And not all the same clothes, of course, but I realized that like, so basically you don't like socks and underwear and stuff like that and base t-shirts, you don't need to pack loads of them, especially if you're a guy. I know that for guys, I think there's always less pressure on us to, like, we just pair of jeans and t-shirt, boom, simple.
Yeah.
Whereas like it can be tough on girls because they have to combine a few different parts of an outfit. Not always, of course. It's up to you. But the point is that like I find that like since I started like, so if I go to a destination now, like I went to Rome twice last year, and like one of the first things I checked out was like, okay, where is the closest laundry service? And you can take advantage of that, and then kind of like after the third day or whatever, use a laundry service, and then you have like fresh clothes. And also it means that you're not packing a suitcase full of dirty clothes coming back. On cruise ships, do they have?
Yeah, you see, that's what I was going to say. Like on Princess, I've been on Princess cruises once. Yeah. They have a laundrette where you can go and physically do your own washing, and it's cheap. Yeah. But like, if you're on like the likes of Celebrity or MSC, you're paying a lot to get your laundry done if you want to give it to them. And like that's where it's kind of a problem, that you're paying a lot more money for it.
Yeah.
So it can be a bit annoying. So sometimes it is just a case of, I'm going to come back and I'll just do the washing when I'm home.
Mm. Also, tongs and G-strings take up less space. You can edit that out. Imagine. Well, you can leave it in if you want. Okay. Skimpy underwear takes up less space. All right. One thing you always pack no matter where you go.
I suppose, again, like I said, medicine. It's a must. Okay. Because like, as I said, especially if you're in a place, if you're in the Caribbean, you don't know what's on the island that you're going to next, and you're like, are they going to have what I need? Whereas the ship is only going to have a certain amount of supplies. And also, like, I think as well, just going back to the travel hacks, something as well that is quite good, and my wife uses it, is, the misting spray. Do you ever have that? Especially on the flights. The way the air is dry on the plane. It's like this mist that you just spray just to put a bit of moisture back on your face. It does actually help as well.
What I do is I just take water from a bottle and spray it up into the air.
And soak other people around as well.
One thing I pack no matter where I go, I would say portable charger for a phone.
Well, yeah, definitely, yeah.
I got a great one from, I can't remember who it was. So it's an Anchor power bank. They do all these chargers, and I'm not sure exactly which model it is, but it has. I just find it's the most solid one.
It's fast
charger, and it's just so solid. And I've had it now for a couple of years, and it's never let me down. I don't know, because some of them you can get these kind of like knockoff, kind of cheaper ones for €20, and I splashed out a little bit more on this one because I said, you know what, I want something that's not going to let me down. So I bought an Anchor. This is not a paid partnership. Anchor, I'm open to paid partnerships, but definitely Anchor. Anchor power bank. That's what I'd always pack. And funnily enough, I know that this is very inconvenient, but I always pack my electric toothbrush. It takes up space, and I have to bring the charger, but I don't know. I like my electric toothbrush. So That's probably so basically it's it takes up space. It's heavier than a wooden toothbrush or whatever.
Yeah.
But like for some reason I like to brush my teeth like with my electric toothbrush no matter where I am. Okay, most embarrassing thing that's happened to you while traveling. I guess it's the time you shit your pants on the cruise, no?
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know about if like the most embarrassing thing happened to me. Like I've seen other people doing embarrassing shit.
Yeah.
But like I don't know about.
You talking about your wife here? Or?
No. No, it's just like I've seen people like getting up to no good on the cruises. I've spoken about that on previous episodes, but it's like you were just like you're doing
cringy stuff like second embarrassment.
It's just like you're doing this in a public place where everybody can see what's going on.
I can imagine.
You're just like, oh Jesus.
Public displays of affection.
Yeah.
Most embarrassing thing that's happened to me while traveling. It's hard to kind of think off the top of my head. I have it. I was in Pokhara in Nepal, and there was a pier on the lake, and there was this couple, right? And they were doing like their friend was doing like a video on for Instagram, but it was like the friend was walking backwards as the couple were walking like away from the pier, and they were kind of like holding hands, and I was standing like at the top of the pier, and I was being extra polite, and I kind of swung backwards to avoid them, and I actually fell into the lake. Yeah, I know. I fell into the lake, and like, oh my God. It was brilliant. Like, I didn't know where to look. And then loads of people rushed around, and I was like, oh my God, I wanted to stay in the lake and swim to the other side. So yeah, that's probably,
fucking mad.
I know. So yeah, I think we've covered all bases, no?
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, so like I suppose we'll just go over one or two final kind of things. I suppose, like, what's a lesson that traveling has kind of taught you?
I think the biggest lesson is that the things you take for granted at home, you know, like, depending on where you live, obviously, but like, everyone complains about things at home, and then you go to other countries and say, well, you know, like
100%, yeah.
You know, maybe things are not so bad, or maybe things could be improved at home. You know, it's like, especially after being in Japan, I was like, God, why didn't we think of that back home? Or vice versa, you go to, like, traveling in India was an eye opener, and see, like, oh my God, like I know they don't have the infrastructure for like garbage collection, all that, but like it makes you realize that, like, okay, you can do your bit to recycle, but there's, in these developing countries, there's so much kind of pollution and stuff. It's like, wow, it's shocking. So I think it's just perspective, you know. That's probably the most interesting lesson that I've learned. It's just it and I think everybody knows that, no? It's like, perspective.
Like, I think as well, like, that we've seen, like, we always complain about how much things cost in Ireland, but like, we've gone to so many places where it's cost way more. It's especially like Iceland, Denmark. A lot of these countries are way more expensive than Ireland.
Yeah. We're not too bad considering. I think, like, definitely we do, but I think we just like to complain. You know what I'm saying? Well, yeah. So
would you ever go on a cruise after just like chatting to me, even like, not even in this, but like in previous conversations where I've spoken to you about cruises, or you've seen photos?
Yeah, do you know what is as I said to you before, it's definitely, I want to go, like, just to scratch that itch.
Yeah.
And then, you know, who knows? I know a friend of mine, Rob, I think you know him, as well. He swears by them, and he's done a bit of both. You know, so
yeah, like
it depends on obviously what you're after and what kind of traveling you like, but no, definitely, I want to scratch that itch, because, like anything, if you don't, it's like a destination. If you don't go there, you can't really judge.
Yeah, like I think once you do I think a lot of people have this fear about cruises, and they think, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. I'm going to feel it. You really don't. Like, you don't. Once you're on the boat, on the ship, you're not. Your mind is not thinking about what's going on around you. You're just enjoying the whole thing. And I think once you do one, you're going to want to do more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what about you? Like, would you ever do like a long trip, like not a cruise trip, or no?
I suppose a couple of years ago we did. we did 2 weeks in America. Nothing whatsoever to do with cruising. We flew into
destination to destination, like
So like we went into LA. We spent time in LA. We went down to Anaheim. We went to Disney. Then we flew up to Vegas. We spent time in Vegas. We went to Arizona. Then we went to San Francisco. So like we spent 2 full weeks traveling around over there, and I loved it. It was amazing. But it still wouldn't make me go, okay, I need to stop cruising and do just this. I like that I can do both.
A bit of both, yeah.
Because like last year,
you get a bit of both anyway on cruising.
Yeah, so like last year I did the Alaska cruise, I did the South America cruise.
Yeah.
But then I was in Holland, I was in the UK, I was in Scotland, I was in Morocco. So we did other things that weren't just cruise related as well, which I like the fact that we can do these kind of breaks as well.
Exactly. I booked 5 days in Rome yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
I said I was eyeing up flights, and I booked 5 days in Rome just after the Ireland-Italy game, because a friend of mine, Paolo, he invited me over, and I go there every year almost.
Yeah, I've been to Rome once, but it was literally just on the cruise.
Oh, you should. Yeah, you'd love it. I mean, obviously, the history is incredible.
Oh, that's what, yeah. So, like we did the Vatican Museum. We got to walk around there, and it's amazing.
So yeah, I find as well. You know, when you live in a small town in Ireland, as nice as it is, you kind of you do miss a bit of the hustle and bustle, don't you?
Yeah, no, it's cool to go to a bigger city and just see what's there, and like just experience other food.
Yeah, the rush as well, and the kind of life and activity. But what about yourself? Okay, you have Japan in August?
we're going to Japan in August, South Korea. As for next year, to be honest, we don't normally like going back to the same places. But I think we could end up going back to Alaska next year.
Really?
Yeah. It's just like, we mightn't go out of Seattle this time. We want to go maybe out of Vancouver and get to see a bit of Vancouver this time, because it's a place that I've always wanted to go to.
Yeah.
And then we mightn't go with Celebrity Cruises this time. We might go with somebody else and go kind of a different route on the cruise. And that's what we're thinking about doing.
Yeah.
We might get a trip to London at some point, because we both like going over to London. It's only like an hour flight. And you can spend a few days in London as well.
What about on the other side of are there any cruise ships around Newfoundland and Greenland?
Yeah. But they'd be a very kind of niche kind of
and they wouldn't have the dramatic landscape as Alaska.
Yeah, like I know you could they'd be for smaller amount of people as well. There wouldn't be a whole lot of next year or the year after. I think Celebrity Cruises is launching river cruising. So they obviously have their big cruises for at sea, but they're getting into the river cruise. So we're going to try a river cruise. Yeah, on the Shannon.
On the Lee.
So it's obviously going to be, they're probably going to do it somewhere in Europe. But we might try and go even for a couple of days just to experience a river cruise with them, just to see what it's all about.
Oh, class. Yeah. Very good. So cheers, Ronan, for having me on.
Thanks very much.
Yeah,
it's been good. It's been good.
Jesus, time flies. I thought, oh my God, 45 minutes or half an hour, this is going to drag on, but
we've been.
I could speak for another hour. I don't think we've ever had this as long a conversation in real life. Normally,
probably not. No.
Normally, it's just. I think the longest thing we've done recently of this length is paddle tennis. And you kick my ass. So.
Yeah, if for anybody listening, you probably would have seen us. If you know us, we play a lot of paddle.
Yeah.
That's
listen,
kind of
the paddle and cruising. That imagine. But then you'd have to get your wife into paddle. Then.
Yeah, that would.
But that could be a thing. You know, actually, yeah. Well, look, I have more questions anyway about cruising, so maybe we can have this conversation or continue this conversation in another podcast.
And for everybody else, just in relation to Johnny, just make sure you check out his Instagram, John Plus English. Especially, it'd be handy for the likes of students who want to pick up speaking English.
Yeah, for traveling especially, and also it has a bit of everything on it. And sometimes I share kind of bits of my travels, and
it's cool. I see some of you put up grammar quizzes and other things like that, and I do think even for somebody who speaks English, you're just okay, what?
Exactly. Listen, I even for myself, I started to question myself sometimes. So, yeah, cheers. Looking forward to the next time.
That's great. Thanks very much for coming on the show. And now I'm going to press record and we'll start properly.
Massive. Yeah, that was a good warm up. Right. Nice one.
Thanks.